What's up, everybody? How's it going? What's up, everybody? Everybody, clap your hands. What's up, everybody? Everybody, clap your hands. Hold on. I'm getting double sound because I'm over here. Hold on. I'm getting double. There we go. What I'm doing is I'm doing a simulcast over here for y'all. YouTube we got going, and Patreon we going at the same time. If y'all got any questions later on, those of you on the Patreon side can ask a few questions. Everybody else, have a good time listening on YouTube. But what I will do is ask my guest that when he gets on later on, we're going to put his Cash App up here. And I want y'all to definitely donate to his Cash App because he's one of the forefathers of hip hop. My guest today, somebody that was there in 71, someone who saw Kool Herc and the rest of the guys come to the party. Come on now. Double sound. I hate when that happens. He's somebody who saw when Bambaataa came to the party. He's someone who's an original Black Spade. He was in the great documentary Microphone Check. And someone who's still out here speaking on the behalf of real hip hop and the hip hop origin story. And y'all know my point of view. My point of view is, for those are the ones that were there at the beginning, for those ones who are still out here telling the stories and keeping the culture strong, we must take care of them. The reason why you get these other people going around lying is because it's a lot of money in the lie. And it's people who have nefarious means behind Black American greatness that are willing to pay a lot of money for cast a lie. So when we get the ones that are coming here telling the truth, we acknowledge him. And I got one of the legends of the game in the house right now. It's a cool DJ FaZe. What's up, FaZe?
Peace. What's going on with you?
Man, I'm glad to have you on here, man. It's been a long time coming.
Glad to be here, man. You know, we go back and forth on the phone sometimes, and I'm glad you called me in and said, hey, we get ready to do this. So, anytime you call me, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Before I even get started, I want to ask that you kindly share your Cash App with us, so that I totally believe in those of us who are telling the truth and unapologetic about the truth. We as a community, we need to take care of y'all because it's a lot of people in the nefarious who trying to write y'all out that they got big money in writing y'all out. So we got to show support. What's your Cash App?
It's $PHASETRAX.
Yeah. That's it.
And my PayPal.
Well, you said PH
P like computer, FaZe Tracks.
Gotcha.
With an X.
Make sure I got that spelled that right on the screen. If you see the screen, I don't know if you can see the screen. Oh shit! No, I got something else going on. Hold on. Let me fix that. Let me fix that. FaZe Tracks, because I just want to take care of this before we get going, because I want some people out there who want to show love, and I want to make sure that they have a means to do so. So y'all see the Cash App right there, FaZe Tracks, right there. And what was the other one?
It's bumbeats@hotmail.com. Bumbeats with a Z.
That's for which one?
PayPal. Yes.
Bumbeats@hotmail.com. Yeah, y'all don't have to feel pressured or anything. If you feel pressured, then don't do it. Shit. But what you need to do, if you want to take care of the people who've been doing this and telling the truth and putting it out there, this is just an option for you to do so. Don't send me a dime in. I'm telling y'all right now, he didn't even ask me to do this. This is something that I said I want to do because I respect and have such a high level of respect for the people like him who have laid it down for us. And I think that that's the least we can do is show our love and take care of them, all right? So with that being said, and why the hell ain't my background working right on this? Can y'all read that? Because the background sucks. Trying to change his background on y'all. Hold on. Background color. Yeah, color. Yeah, so why the hell is this? I'll see here. There we go. There we go. PayPal, bumbeats@hotmail.com. So y'all see his Cash App. Y'all see his PayPal. All right. So let's get into it. So tell the people your origin story. What year do you come in? Where were you from? What city? And this thing we call hip hop is starting to. We don't call it. Y'all didn't call it hip hop then, of course, but this thing we now call hip hop. Take us in your eyesight, what you see. Give us the year, and what do you see in those first days of what we call hip hop?
Well, I like to start by telling you a little bit of where I'm from and what I claim to be. I'm just one of the 7. I'm a baby spade, and we were called baby spades. We were called little rascals. We were called a lot of things. And so when the Spades was created, I think 67, I'm not sure, 67, 68, when the Spades were created, Guru, one of the founders, I I saw him throwing a knife into the tree. He was in front of my building. And so I wanted him to teach me how to throw that knife in the tree. And so he told me to come downstairs. And so I came downstairs, and that's when he told me, he said, I'm going to be a baby spade.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wasn't old enough to be actual black spade at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were, I was like one of the first ones in the projects to have a mini bike. So I used to go. There's 3 sections in Bronxdale, and I used to ride all back and forth, all the sections and everything. So a lot of people knew me, and also a lot of people knew me from playing the drums. I would play these drums all through, school and the talent shows and out the window and everything. So
quick question, just a quick question. When you said play the drums, were you playing the bongo hand drums or the drums? The drum set.
I played a trap set, and I played all percussion.
Okay, got you.
All percussion. And the way that I learned how to play the drums was from any record that had a drum solo. And of course, that meant a lot of James Brown. A lot of James
Brown. There go that name again.
And so James Brown basically taught me, in a sense, how to play the drums and how to put that syncopated sound in there. So once I started playing and started collecting the records, Mario, which was older, and let me just start by saying, so in my story, hip hop started in 1970.
1970, okay.
But it wasn't in effect till 1971, July 7th. 1971. At this point, it was then brought outside. So that's why when people say that the hip hop started indoors, that's totally untrue. Totally untrue. The reason why it was indoors was because we didn't really, in the beginning, it wasn't perfected. It was just, a matter of playing records and playing the drums and dancing, so that it became something big to what it is now in 1971. that's when it became something. And of course, the person that hold the key and open the door for us baby spades was Mario.
Disco King
He
Mario.
had, yes,
Okay.
Disco King. Well, when he first started, he was just Mario. He
Okay.
wasn't
Okay.
DJ Mario. He
Okay.
wasn't Disco King. He was just Mario. And a lot of people get that messed up because they feel like, why does he have disco in his name? But the disco doesn't stand for the disco music. It stands for the discotheque, the club in which music was played, all different music. We had all different music was played in the discotheque.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, when we hear people say, oh, well, why did he have disco in his name? That just shows that they don't know anything. They never saw Mario play or anything.
And they don't
He,
even know that the what we know is disco, the what we call disco music didn't come out until 73. Before that was
yeah,
dance music.
yeah, yeah. And for us, we even say that it really didn't come out until 74, 75.
That's when it hit nationwide.
Yeah, that's when it became. And it only lasts for us. It only lasts till maybe about 77.
Mm-hmm.
And when it did, we didn't like it like from the jump because
My
it
dad didn't
was
like it
it
either.
was we didn't like it at all. We kind of made it feel like it to us. It felt like there was a hidden agenda involved with it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a rough thing. It wasn't a manly man thing. So that's why. And then also you have to remember we were kids. So disco music was primarily in the clubs. And that's what older people,
Yeah.
we weren't going to no clubs, Studio 54 and all of the Roseland, all of those different, clubs where it was popular, in the village. In New York, we have the village. And that's where it's just well, I call it free love, because
Right.
men be with men and women be with women, and that's that free love type of. So we never liked it. We never liked how they dress. We never liked that the beat, was just a bass drum, a hi-hat, and a snare drum. We just didn't like it. There was
Yeah.
no change ups. It was just a constant beat, and so we never liked it. We really didn't. So I think, and it's not to be saying that we created it, but I remember a lot going and buying a shirt that said disco sucks. We all had the shirts that said disco sucks, and so yeah, we just didn't care for it at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that
It
that
was a
that
different
made
age.
us
Yeah.
right. And so where Disco King came from was that there was JJ was the Disco King. He was with Cool D, and he came into our projects one time with Cool D, and from what I remember, he just told Cool D, don't use the name no more. That is my name, and that was it. He never got it back. Like,
Wow. Just
yeah,
gangster
because
his name.
yeah, that's like gangster. That's gangster at all. And that's how basically Bronxdale was in a sense. We were like, it was just we wanted something, he just took it.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what he did. He took the name and never got it back. I'm sure JJ wasn't gonna fight him for it. I know that wasn't gonna happen. So it basically became, his name, and still, like at that time, I believe that Cool D was actually playing in a club. They were playing in a club at those times because it wasn't. I don't even remember at the time when he actually took it, but it wasn't 70, 71, 72, 73, so 74. It wasn't at those times at all.
Okay.
So basically it was probably, after disco was started, and so, for the club scene, that was it.
Okay, guys. So thank you for that clarity, because time and space matters. So you're talking about 1970, 71. He's not calling himself Disco King at that point. That comes later on when disco becomes, because we all know once disco got to New York blew disco out the water. Once it got there, Studio 54 and all that stuff. So that would make sense to call yourself the Disco King during that time, and to adopt that name later on as disco music separated itself from the traditional term discotheque, which is a French word for a place where music is played. And that's a very important distinction that people have in their minds when we're talking about these people during that time. So you're around at that time. When do you hear about, because there's this thing that's been going on, people, and I saw you when we were on Lord Jamar's show last week, you cleared up the difference between the Zulu Nation and the Spades. What I've seen since Afrika Bambaataa's died, or when they talk about Afrika Bambaataa, they talk about him as if he was Moses and he united the gangs across New York, and they said that the Spades were adopted into the Zulu Nation. I'm just telling you what they said. You were there. I want you to clarify Afrika Bambaataa, the Zulu Nation, and the Spades taking, basically submitting to the Zulu Nation. Can you clear that up for me, please?
Definitely. Well, one thing that I can say is that it's definitely not, the Black Spades did not change into the Zulu Nation. That was definitely out. No, not it. Bambaataa was never the president or anything high in the Black Spades at all, at all. So I remember KRS-One said that Bambaataa stopped all the gangs and started the Zulu Nation, and that's totally false. Like, totally, he never had that type of power with the Spades at all. So that's just totally false. One thing that I can, and I said it on my podcast, was that the Spades in the beginning were martial arts like masters, and the Spades were created because the Spanish, Puerto Ricans, whatever you want to call them, they tried to jump one of the founders. And so that's why it became, because, and that's another thing why I just don't get it, how in the beginning, Spanish people didn't like us.
They didn't like y'all. Okay.
They just didn't like us, and and they would go in groups. It would be like in groups. And so one of the things that I can definitely say with the Black Spades was that in martial arts, being a master, the top dogs would be able to fight 10 and 8, 9, and 10 people at the same time, just one of them. And so that's why it would be an insult if they're fighting a whole bunch of people and someone comes to help them. That's an insult to them, because it's like they don't need no help. They want to show their skills, and they want to show what they can do without somebody jumping in. And that's just how we all were. We used to, as young kids, we would practice every single day. When we come outside and we would fight bigger kids, because the bigger kids would show us like, yo, if you out there by yourself, you gotta be tough, And they used to, my sensei, to this day, he Sensei Khalif, he made us do push-ups on our knuckles. And that's why my hands are the way they are now, because he used to enforce that, and we used to punch walls and elevators and everything, to get our knuckles and our hands strong.
I had like that.
Tree, whatever. And we Big Blackjack for me, he would take us in the back and stretch out our foot against the wall, and my first sensei was Pop Edwards. And so from kids, we would go from school and go straight to the center and do karate, or all day in school, lunchtime we're doing karate. So by the time Bruce Lee came out, we knew Yamaguchi. We were familiar with Yamaguchi, who they say taught Bruce Lee. And so we every single day, like, we were just doing karate. So getting back to the with the Zulu Nation. So the Black Spades will always be the Black Spades. And some of the Black Spades, when it changed hands, leadership hands, some of the Black Spades, when Bambaataa was forming the Zulu Nation, they joined. They were a part of it. But what I can say is this: the Black Spades, you had to be chosen. So just anybody could not, especially like I said, with the beef again with the Spanish people, there was a beef. So it just everybody wasn't going to just join the Black Spades. With the Zulu Nation, Bam had this. I don't want to say kumbaya, but he had this philosophy that everybody could join, and so that's where their numbers came.
Okay,
because
so it's like come one, come all.
Right.
Okay, and you got the Spades was more like, nah, we got to choose you. Okay.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. And so, their numbers were getting big, but we were not saying that we were fading out. But, the older they got, they got jobs, they had families, they had, and so they weren't able to do the things that they were doing as younger people.
So Bambaataa basically opened it up. Any feral child out there looking to be a part of something can join and be it. But it didn't. What I'm getting is it didn't have the structure that the Spades had. Would you say that that's fair?
It didn't. It didn't have the structure at all because, like I said, it wasn't. It was. I guess they said is peace, love, so having fun, peace, love, whatever, and having fun. I forget. I used to know it, but I don't know it anymore. But and that's not what the Spades were about. The Spades were formed to protect their community. They were there to make sure that no drugs were brought into the community, and it was more of a Black Panther type of deal, because it was structured to help the community. It wasn't all about fun.
So basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to sort of bite off when they talk about Bambaataa uniting hip hop or whatever, they're trying to bite off really what a lot of what the Spades had already been set in motion and been doing. They tried to bite off that success and sort of attribute it to Bambaataa. Would you say that that's fair?
Yes, yes, definitely. The Spades, like I said, the Spades were more into protection, I gotta say it, I never got my mini bike stolen. I never, we were never put in those positions where something could happen to us as little kids. We were never put in those positions at all because we were watched over. Our parents, weren't getting their pocketbooks stolen or robbed or anything because the Spades did it. And at the time, it was a lot of racism, between the Italians and the Guineas and all of those. So we were basically surrounded by them. You go 4 blocks up this way and you couldn't cross that street. I going to school, both schools, we used to have to get jumped by men
and
with baseball
what years
bats.
was this? What years?
This is 70, 71, 72.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm asking you that question, because we always talk about hip hop and black culture sort of being it acts differently in every city that we in, but it's the same common culture. You hear the same thing in LA. The Crips were formed around that same time, 70, 71, 72. And the reason why a lot of your black gangs were formed was because black people were surrounded by non-black people. Before the Crips, you got the Slauson, the businessmen, and the early LA gangs. Black people in LA were actually the last to the gangs. The Chicanos had their gangs first. The Hell's Angels started in Southern California. You had the white boy gangs that were all throughout. They were all across Alameda was a dividing line. So if you cross Alameda, Southgate, Linwood, all that stuff was white gangs, and black gangs was formed out of protection. So it's kind of a similar kind of thing, reaction to what's going on, and but the same kind of thing. The original intent sort of gets washed away at some point because cats get older, get jobs, life happens. You know what I mean? It used to be a teenage thing, but what I'm hearing is the Spades and the LA gangs, for the most part, started for the similar reasons, and they both face racial aggression from outside groups. And that is a key distinction when we're talking about the early days of hip hop and what you guys were doing in hip hop. I'm gonna let you finish off what you have to say about this. Then I want to get into when you start seeing Bambaataa come around and what that was like. We're gonna get into talking about Bambaataa, but go ahead. I just wanted to draw that line because it's like, man, it sounds like I'm listening to my dad talk about 71 here in LA. You know what I mean? So it's like, man. Well, go ahead.
It was more or less like I said, if we crossed White Plains Road, which my school was actually on the other side of White Plains Road. And so that's where all the private houses are. We have our buildings and their private. So they didn't want us to cross that line. But the Spades had it to where they wasn't going to cross the line over here, but we could go over there. You know what I'm saying? If something happened to one of us, Spades will go over there and tear them up, like tear them up. And I mean, these were men. These were men with chains and bats and knives and guns and everything, anything you could think of. Sticks and pipes and stuff. They would jump. There'd be maybe 20, 30 of them jumping one kid. And so so the Spades stopped all of that.
And the Spades at the same time of having hip hop parties in 71.
Right. And so now, like I said, at that point is when we're into this music, and You know, the Spades are doing their thing. And one of the things that I gotta say, what takes a lot of difference between a lot of the places. So we had Bronxdale, we had Monroe, Soundview, Castle Hill, Bronx River, Sackworm, Lafayette, Parkchester. All of these projects and buildings were around us. Like we were like in the middle of it. And so in our projects, we had the store Pathmark. If anybody is from that era, they'll know that we had a Pathmark. Now, Pathmark was the grocery store. Yeah, I mean, they had little grocery stores and everything, but Pathmark, like Hills and stuff, Pathmark was the main hub for the groceries. So all of those projects would come to Pathmark. And as kids, we cornered the market. So meaning that all the aisles, all the cashiers, we would not let any other people come from any other projects or nothing. And we would pack bags. And then some of us would stand outside and take the bags to the cars. So each time, that happened, you could get from 25 cents to $2, $1 or whatever. So in the summertime, we would go there at 7 o'clock in the AM and stay there until maybe 3 o'clock sometimes.
Working.
Just working. So at any time, that my crew said we were only going to make from $20 to $30 every day. Like that was our goal, $20 to $30. So some of us wouldn't make the $30 yet, so we'll wait for them to make the $30, and then we go do whatever we do. So at that time, grown-ups, parents weren't making that kind of money, $30 a day. That was like unheard of.
You could rent an apartment for $50 a week back then, huh?
Exactly. $50 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we would be able to go to the gangsters and say, yo, what you got? Let us get that or whatever. So that's why it's hard for people to understand and believe that I had British Walkers, Playboys, Ribs, AJs, Overlaps, Champagne Cologne, Quarterfields, Mock Necks, Suede Pockets, gold medallions, where people had silver medallions. And my crew had that. So people are like, when we tell it now, people are like, nah, you wasn't having that. Y'all lying or whatever. But that's true. We did have that. So especially with records, and stuff, we could go by back then. A 45 was what, 25 cents?
Like that.
Maybe less. Yeah, if that. And an album was like $1.99 sometimes, for an album. So we were able to go to the record store, and get these records and, anything that we knew came out or whatever. So we would have the stuff. And so that's where the creation came in, where we were.
Y'all could buy the records.
We had access. Yeah, we had access to a lot of stuff that a lot of people didn't have.
So I want one second. I want the audience to I want to go back on what he just built up for us. This is how comprehensive, and this is why I'm so glad to have DJ Faze on. Make sure y'all follow his channel, Original Hip Hop Pioneer. He gave you a how it happened. It's not that they just had these records out of nowhere. They just magically appeared. Then one day that there's a party. No, they were a gang that got together, protected the neighborhood, because black people nationwide, same story with the Viceroys and the GDs in Chicago, no matter where you go nationwide, most of our gangs were formed as a response to racial aggression and controlling neighborhoods in a gang city where everybody got gangs except us. So they were formed as necessary things. But within that, they had employment at a very young age, hustling, like a lot of people did. I used to collect bottles and stuff like that. Most of us, well, you kids now, if you under 35, you niggas didn't know what the fuck to do. But if back then we was, people, and I'm a different generation phase, different coast, but same culture. But so it's a culture of getting up and hustling. And because they got up and hustled, they had the money to pay for the records to have the parties. That's a full story. Versus somebody just showing up from Jamaica one day and playing a record and everybody saying, hey, no, he just really gave you solid groundwork, gave you the name of a DJ, gave you a year, a location, of what they did and how they did it. That's how we answer questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And that's what he just gave us. And the environment of the Black Spades, who we keep hearing about, that now since Afrika Bambaataa has died, they're trying to rewrite who the Black Spades were. So what I want to get into now, okay, we have all this going on now. We have the Zulu Nation coming around. Kool Herc. Talk to me about the Kool Herc thing from your perspective, what you saw in 1973 and before that and after that. Was Kool Herc the only DJ doing this, or was there a bunch of DJs that were having parties? And then also talk about the inside versus outside thing. Cover that. And I want you to go ahead and cook on that.
Okay, so first, when we were doing it, when we were doing what we call hip hop, what we call the breaks and all of that, there were no DJs. And I'm gonna just keep it 100. I was going all over. I had cousins in all of the boroughs in Long Island, Queens, Jersey, down south, and everything. And all my cousins were not doing it. They were just not doing it. All my friends, family, they were not doing it, because you got to remember, when we started playing the breaks and doing that stuff, the older people were totally against it. Mm-hmm. They would tell us that, why are you not letting the record play? And why you buy a whole record and you only let the couple of seconds of the record play? And so they were against it. They were like, that is the stupidest thing that I ever heard, for you to buy a record, sometimes a whole album, just to get a couple of seconds on this record and play. So everybody was against it. Everybody was against it. The older people were totally against it. Now, for us, outside was the way that we could play the triple X records.
Cuss words.
Like Red Fox, Arms Mabley, Richard Pryor, Wild Man Steve, all of these records we could play, not in a house, but we could play. That's just like cursing. I don't care how young you are, as soon as you leave your house, you could go outside and say all the curses because you're not in front of your parents or somebody older. So that's what we did. We were outside and we could play these records, that wasn't. And what we were, how for us, it all started was Pig Meat Markham.
Yeah.
It was, because what he was doing, he was snapping and saying jokes over this music. Now, I know people say, they've been doing that for a long time, but
that's what you heard it.
Right. And
let me give you one before you even go further. For those who he talks about that, when Pig Meat Markham was actually, he was put on late night TV in 68 when he did it. So although this is a long cultural tradition, and I'm one of the main ones that talks about the long cultural tradition, people don't have access to things until they see it on TV or hear it on radio. So it's not, somebody doesn't come off of a boat and start a culture. In America, somebody saw some shit on TV and said, oh, I'm going to do my version of that. So basically, when you heard "Here Comes a Judge," that sparked something in your mind, is what you're saying. Would you say that's about right? I'm gonna play a little bit.
It definitely did, because and that's what the difference was between us. With Pig Meat Markham, there were other instruments besides the drums.
Yeah.
We just wanted the drums
Mm-hmm.
and talking stuff. We didn't want the other instruments. We didn't want the guitars and the keyboards and the lead guitars and all of that. We didn't want none of that. All we wanted was the drum, the straight up drum beat. And we got that from, James Brown. When James Brown said, he called out the drummer and he said, can the drummer get some? Can the drummer get some? And then when the drummer got some and he did his thing, that's our time to go off. It's like a feel. I still get it to this day. When I think about it, I still think about it to this day. How that feeling of when all the music stops. And once all the music stops and that drum comes on, that just woo. So inside of us gets this feeling. And then, one of the things that we were already accustomed to was talking about each other, snapping.
Snapping. That's cultural, man. It's like, come on.
We was, so being little kids, we used to be in an apartment and playing the speaker out the window. So the older kids will be outside and we could snap on the older kids because they couldn't get us because we up in the apartment. You wasn't going to go past somebody, mom or dad or something, and get us. So they had to wait until we come downstairs later on and get us.
Yeah.
We didn't care. We were the first ones to hit you with a rock and run.
The big thing
we were the rock kings,
So one of the big things you saying is it's not just the rapping, it's also the snapping. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna play just a quick little snippet for the people who don't know who Pig Meat Markham is. I'm gonna play like a little 10-second clip. I can't play more than 10 seconds or I'm gonna get a flag. But this is Pig Meat Markham, y'all.
I want no tears, I don't want no lies. Above all, I don't want no alibis.
That's Pig Meat Markham right there. And that was on the Tonight Show in 1968 when you saw that. And it was a combination of the rap and the snapping that made it. Because I know a lot of people from New York also talk about Frankie Crocker and Jocko Henderson rapping on the radio too. Did Jocko Henderson have any kind of play in those early days for those who decide to MC and rap?
Well, not for us. For the older people, it did, because they were saying stuff, like groove and
different words,
the different, and they were basically hyping up themselves. When we started just like straight up doing the Red Fox or the, like we was
straight into
we was
Richard Pryor.
We was just ripping people up, so that was the big difference, for us. Like we'll talk about, and then see, and that's another thing too. See, we could say those things outside,
but not around your parents.
Yeah, but not around your parents, oh man, like food stamps coming out of your pussy and shit like that, and roaches coming out of your pussy and shit like that. We can say that in front of our parents or somebody, so outside for us was either outside or in the staircase for us was our getaway. That was where we could be us and we could say what we could say. So, once that was happening, now the three things that I have to say how it was created was the music, the DJ. When I say the DJ, meaning the person is putting the record on that break. and the dancer, when that break comes on, they do that, and the person is talking the stuff over the microphone.
And the crazy you said, because those are really the only components that still exist to today. It's somebody with a beat, somebody gonna be dancing, and somebody on the mic. Now, what they sound on the mic is gonna vary depending on what region it is. The beat is gonna vary. The dance, black folks create 10 new dances every summer. So one summer is b-boy, the next summer is something else, and it might, next week it might be a different dance. So all of this bringing everything down to just b-boying is really underserving the vastness of hip hop, because hip hop isn't tied to it's tied to dance, but whatever that dance is for that moment in time. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you were able to point it out and bring in that clarity. So the next part I want to get to is, okay, we had that history going on right there. Now you said something on when we were on the phone earlier. I want to bring this back up. You were talking about, okay, so now you get these people in the 80s coming to document everything or whatever, or the 70s, they come to document stuff. And he said something about Herc and the neighborhood he lived in, and that being a easier place for these outside people to come into than down home where the real folks that was doing it were. Talk to us about this documentation phase and how Herc and Bambaataa and Flash, how they become to the front from your point of view.
Okay, so Herc, right? See, Bronxdale, especially in the 60s and the 70s, Bronxdale was known as you can't come into Bronxdale unless you know somebody, and we got to know who you know, so you can't just come into Bronxdale. And so it was more labeled as like notorious Bronxdale, like, you might not make a Bronxdale, so that's the basic reputation that it had. So at the time of the interviews with Herc, it was because he lived in a moving on up building. He lived in a working class, building. They had terraces and stuff like that, air conditioner ports and stuff like that, and we ain't had that. You had a fan, one of those raggedy old box fans, and that was
sitting in the window.
I sit in the window and open all the windows and that's it, but they had air conditioner, doorman, they had rugs and carpet and soda machines in the building and all kinds of, stuff. We didn't have none of that, so the thought of these interviewers coming to Bronxdale is like, no way. They're not going to bring these expensive cameras or even themselves. They're not going to come there. So the next best thing would to be go to where it's comfortable, where they know they don't have basically a chance to get robbed or get beat up or anything. And so that was basically how it happened. Even till today, you could have people that are really rough and in the gutter, the really rough. And then you have the people that are not rough and have a better situation, but they want to assimilate with the
people.
They want to have that cool, like the people this rough, they have that cool card. And so somebody that's not rough and tough like that want that cool card, and they want to be looked at as cool. But, and one of the favorite things that I remember is when Eminem on what said, you go to your parents are doctors and you go to you go to a private school. He told the guy, you remember, because the guy was acting like he was a gangster. And Eminem said, you go to private school and your parents are doctors and stuff. So that's basically it. He wanted to be known as this gangster and hard, And that's it. So he wasn't really a gangster, and it wasn't really hard. So that's what happened with Herc. Another thing I want to tell you about Herc is they talk about the sound systems.
I was just about to ask you about that. Go ahead, brother.
They talk about the sound systems. When Herc came out, right, and this is when he came out, right, you're a musician, and you know what a PV column is, right? PV columns and a earth. Remember the earth with the cushion on it? Guitar amplifiers?
Yes.
That's what he had. And columns don't have no bass. It's for guitars. It ain't even for a bass guitar.
Yeah.
And so that's what his system was. So what happens when people say, oh, he brought this sound system from Jamaica? No. Kool D had the Macintosh before Herc had it.
You said Kool D.
He went and bought everything. Yeah, he went and bought everything Kool D had.
Okay.
And so that's where the sound system came. But by that time, we were like, oh my God, man. Woo! My dad owned a club in Harlem, well-known club. All the people, Sidney Poitier, everybody who was anybody used to go to my dad's club. And so when he redid it, he brought the equipment to the house. And so it became my equipment.
Right.
So
So you have a dad that's into music too.
Yeah, we had the 15 Gauss speakers. And I don't know if people don't even know what Gauss speakers are. Those columns, I would willing to bet they were 10-inch or 12-inch at the most. And so it couldn't produce the bass sounds. So, when Mario took my Gauss and brought it outside, it was something else. And then we had, so the bass was coming out of those Gauss, and then, we had other speakers and everything. So when we came outside, we didn't have no flyers or anything because people just knew that we was out because they heard the music.
That makes sense because I don't give a damn what neighborhoods you in Black America. You just can't be this long before cell phones, long before pagers. When you was outside, you just knew where to go. The kids, or if you didn't know, one of the kids be running down, be like, "Hey, come." Right. You're not gonna sit down and make no damn flyer to pass to a 14-year-old.
Right. It's like Mr. Softy. When Mr. Softy, the kids follow, and that's what it was. So this claim about this fake flyer, that was passed out or whatever. How come out of all of this time, there's only one copy of that flyer? Now, if the people, now this is how we are. If I have something and my name is on it, I'm keeping that bad boy. I'm keeping it. That's just without the doubt, And so you mean to tell me that there was only one index flyer for all and how many people said that they were there? How many people say, oh, they was at this party, they was at this famous party, the Herc gave a birthday party? How many people said they was there? We did a show one time and we went over there and we showed.
I saw that.
You wasn't getting 1 million people, 1,000 people in this jacked place, and so, it's a lot of things that just went on because a lot of people only hear about things. They were never there to witness it. That's just like, and I hate to say it, but if the Puerto Ricans were there, when these things would happen, they would know more and they wouldn't have to ask these questions. They wouldn't have to say, well, this happened, whatever, and then get it wrong. You know, Crazy Legs and I can't even call them Crazy Legs no more. Lord Jamal, don't let me tell him.
Lazy Legs.
Lazy Legs. Lazy Legs.
Don't worry, he got me blocked on all social media because he hate this truth. So he ain't gonna.
Okay, and KRS-One, they had to come and do a video back and say that they got wrong information. And that's what, so it's the wrong information that goes on and on and on and on. And then
he got me blocked on all.
Hear this wrong information are the ones that spread it more and more and more.
I want to make this comment, and then I'm gonna ask you another question about Kool Herc. Just real quick, if you notice Kool Herc and all the DJs out in New York and how prominent the term cool was at the time, and it's still a very prominent term now. You know, just the word cool is a state of being. It's a state. It shows you it's an energy. It's an action, and the term cool as a verb to describe as a way to adjective to describe things. Came up with the person that came up with it was Lester Young. Lester Young was out of Mississippi, went through New Orleans, and then popularized in the swing genre in Kansas City. Kansas City is where people like, not people like, is where Lester Young himself, the man himself, came up with terms like bread to describe money, crib to describe a house, words like cool, words like boogie, boogie down Bronx. He was a person that came up with the term boogie as synonymous with a party and having a good time, along with more and more words, and it really shows the interconnectedness. He also came up with the term hip to describe a good time, to describe somebody that's cool. So literally the term hip, the term bread, crib, and cool, along with other terms. I need y'all to go look Lester Young up. He always played his saxophone to the side. And he became a saxophone player because he was originally a drummer, but being a drummer, he couldn't talk to the ladies after the set because
that's a big part of everything.
He had to take his drum set apart. So since he couldn't talk to the ladies, he said, you know what, I'm going to sit these drums down. And he became an alto sax player. And mind you, these are the early days of alto sax, before Ornette Coleman and before the 1930s, and those guys and Charlie Parker. The sax wasn't really a popular instrument. No one really played the sax. So Lester Young was literally the first generation of prominent saxophone players, because before his generation, the saxophone had been around since the 1800s, but nobody used that instrument. It was Lester Young that made the saxophone cool. So when you see a saxophone, when you see someone acting from Marvin Gaye to Sam Cooke or that whole persona, they were all taking a bite off of the tree of Lester Young. So I wanted to bring in that cultural story to go along with it. And I want to go back and ask you, because I've heard you talk about this on other shows, DJ Faze. I need you to talk to me about that merry-go-round thing. I've seen you talk about that before. Herc's merry-go-round. Let's talk about that. What was this? And did it change anything in hip-hop? Does it still play a part in hip-hop? Talk to us about this merry-go-round thing.
Okay. Well, also I wanted to ask you too, Miles Davis, I don't know if he was before Lester or around the same time. He was after. Okay, yes, because he did bring a couple of slangs into the mix, you know. So, but anyway, so the merry-go-round for Herc, and this is why I say all the time, is just folklore. It is. It's just hearsay, because what the merry-go-round for Herc is to play a record say Apache.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Apache has that first break in the beginning, all right? And then in the middle of the record, it has a long break with all the bongos and the congos and everything, right? Now, that's a long break. You know, that break may be maybe a minute or maybe a little bit more than a minute. Maybe, you know, records are usually 3-4 minutes long. So that part of Apache, you know, right. So he'll take that break, right? And then he'll take another record that has a similar. James Brown records, of course, had a lot of breaks where they were long breaks. And so he'll put that on, and then right when that record's going off, he'll put the other break on. Or if he does have two Apaches, he'll put that break on, and then he'll go for that long time, and then he'll put another one on, and it'll go a long time. Now, the catch is he can't do that to Mickey Mouse Club or you know, or anything.
Something with a shorter break.
Right. He can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened to the merry-go-round concept? He can only do it like that. What we were doing, you know, and it's in my book, but I'll tell you the exact trick of how it is. But what we were doing was we had those breaks that maybe like you know, I'll give it away, you know, but this came on later. Graham Central Station, the Jam.
The Jam.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I love that song.
Now, those had several different breaks. It had breaks with the drums, had the breaks with the percussion, had the breaks with the bass line, you know.
The Jam, for those who don't know, the Jam is a song by Larry Graham, who's Drake's uncle, right after he left Sly and the Family Stone. And he basically said, in that song, he introduces basically every instrument, and in that
every instrument,
yeah,
right?
And after he introduced them, there's a breakdown. I'm gonna play them a little 5-second clip. That right there, that song right there needs to.
And so we could take records like that, you know, and do it. And so that's why, you know, till this day, I don't care what anybody says, you know, I used to give record conventions, and Herc used to come, Bambaataa used to come buy records from me. All of these people, K Capri, Diamond D, Biz Marquee, Premier, all of these people used to come to my record conventions for these records. You see what I'm saying? So even till this day, I have several houses that have no furniture, no nothing, just records, crates and crates and crates of records.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, like I said, at this young age, we had the money to go. I was going to Bondi's. I was going to JR Music World. I was going to the Downstairs Records. I was going to Harmony. I was going to all of these record stores and just getting these breaks, you know. One of my drum instructors was Richie Pratt,
mm-hmm.
and he's from the New York Jazz Quartet.
Mm-hmm.
Look him up.
Yeah, okay.
Richie Pratt. And, you know, he would tell me, because he would play for a lot of these different bands. Leroy Bonner, Sugarfoot,
yes,
from Ohio Players. That's my cousin.
So hold on. You are family. Now we're getting even deeper into music right now. So not only are you DJ Phase out of Bronxdale projects, hip hop since 1970, you are cousins with Leroy
Bonner, Sugarfoot. Yes.
Bonner?
Yes, that's my cousin.
Hold on, that's one of the forefathers of funk, man. Who
I
started
used to
out?
be in the garage. In the garage, everybody used to come to the garage. The garage was on my aunt's. Well, that street, all like Hamilton, Ohio, and Cleveland, and Cincinnati, Ohio, and all of that. That's basically my whole family. Basically, cousins,
So you
cousins.
got that Ohio
And
connection, where the funk, the hotbed of funk.
yeah, yeah. And so that I used to be in there. Diamond was the drummer at the time.
Diamond, yep. I'm trying to set up an interview with
Diamond used to
him.
let me, yeah, Diamond used to let me, get on that set, and I would do the stuff and everything. And that was just that's just what it was, And so that's
Hold on,
where,
but you just skip past another thing. The music fan in me just jumped. You said you would sit on Diamond's drum set.
of course, several times. We got pictures of it. Got pictures of it.
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on.
He had a Ludwig. The first set he had was a Slingerland.
Oh, yeah, the Slingerland.
Yeah,
For
the
those of you
Slingerland.
who don't know what we talking about, just real quick, I'm playing a little stick. This is Diamond, the drum. Shoot. You playing on that drum set.
You went. He
hit the bell, not the didn't hit the whole crash. Hit the bell. Like this is like he's one of the top, in my opinion, 20 drummers in recorded music history. You were on Diamond, so this even goes even deeper into your how deep and entrenched you are in the culture. You're a drummer, you're a percussionist, your cousin is Sugarfoot, and you play with Diamond from the Ohio Players. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. They used to love my grandmother's cornbread. My grandmother used to have the cornbread, waiting to warm off or whatever, and they used to come and steal my grandmother's cornbread. There's some pictures when right before Leroy passed away. I was, thank God I got the pictures, and so we took pictures. He came to New York, and he stayed at our house. My grandmother was still alive, and that was the first thing he wanted to. And my grandmother used to make homemade syrup, and that's that Barks cream soda. If anybody knows about Barks cream soda, and that was their thing. And so that's the as a little kid, like I said, we were. Oh man, I was there when they did Roller Coaster, when they did Sweet Sticky Thing.
Man, you was there for Roller Coaster and Sweet Sticky. Boy, like, come on now. It's funny because when you talk about Roller Coaster, I talked to my father-in-law one time about. I was asking him inspirations that he got, and he was talking about one of his he was talking about when he produced Brick House from the Commodores. He talked about fire being like one of the inspirations. We get inspired, but talk about him hearing fire, and it was one of them songs where it just was like, yo, this is some other shit going on right here, basically. And that was the inspiration. Well, not just that, along with other few other songs, but that song right there ended up becoming they ended up. He's like, I want to do something that's funky like that, and what's funky like that ended up being Brick House by the Commodores.
Right. And what's so crazy about it is that Leroy had this thing where I guess he was somewhat like James Brown, because they would be there for days doing just a little part of the record, like oh my God, if the bass didn't go exactly with the drums, or the drums didn't go with the lead guitar, they would just be there just all day. And for summertimes, for me, that was my highlight, to get away from New York and go to Ohio and do that. That's why, oh man, I have all the albums, every last album I have white label. And some of the albums, I think it was Honey. I think it's Honey. that I have.
I love honey.
It don't have no label. It just has a little piece of paper with numbers on it. And no cover. I didn't get a chance to get the cover with her dropping the honey.
I'm putting the cover up on right now. This is the cover of the Honey album.
Yeah, I didn't get
it's
a chance
just
to
the
get
way
that until
that
later
you
on.
love.
Yeah, I didn't get that later.
That was the album with Honey, Love Roller Coaster, Sweet Sticky. All that was on that Honey album. That's probably my favorite Ohio Players album. You got that you got that Honey, you got that Love Roller Coaster. Man, that's one of their greatest albums ever put together, my man. Come on. So you was there for all this.
Oh.
Your camera just went off.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I just had to move for 1 second.
Now go ahead. So go ahead and do what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna reset it. Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna reset for people listening. You're listening to DJ Faze, original hip hop DJ, culture. I have his channel in the description. So what y'all need to do is, if you're watching, go to the description and get the link to his channel. Subscribe. Cool DJ Faze. Everyone listening to me right now, whether you want to do it now or do it when the video's over, I prefer you do it now so you don't forget. Go click on the link to his channel and subscribe, because he's been dropping this game for a long time. He was in Microphone Check, and if you look under where he is, you see his PayPal and you see his Cash App. When it comes to the originals that tell us the original stories, we have to bless them. Because if we don't bless them, somebody gonna come and try to bless them to tell a lie. Y'all wanna know how people be stealing our music history? It's because somebody paying them to tell them goddamn lies. So we, as a culture, we gotta counteract that and put our tools and fuse together and bless this man. So everybody listening right now, y'all got $5 y'all can give him. Don't give it to me. Don't give me shit. I'm monetized. I'm good. You hit his Cash App, hit his PayPal, because he is somebody that is telling the truth, culturally deep in the history, and always willing to share, because we also got those who were there, who is one thing that we have culturally as Black folks, because we've gone through so much, we like to forget and not relive the past and not talk about the past. And so many of us look at the history of the past. When you have the next generation coming up, the people who know don't talk, and the people who don't know shit talk the most. So when you got somebody that was there who knew what it was, willing to talk about what it was, please hit them up and bless their pockets. From my heart, I ask you guys to do that, please. So I have a question real quick that may come up. What was your name then? Did you go by DJ Faze in 1971? What name? Let's clear that up right now. What name? Because somebody's gonna say, "Hey, did you know about the DJ Faze?" What name were you going by back then, and when did you change to DJ Faze?
Okay, so Faze came from. That was the only graffiti letters that I knew. That's the only ones with the bubble letters. Those were the PHASE, were the only letters that I could do in graffiti. When in 1970 and before that, my name is Booby.
Okay.
And then even before Faze, I went through the phase of Easy Al. Okay. And so if you look at some of the flyers, that I did later on, it was Easy Al. And so that's why a lot of people don't say, but I got a couple of the people tell me, "Oh, yo, that was you, Easy Al." But so one of the things that I can say though about this whole thing that changed around was, in the beginning, we didn't have names like DJ. There was no DJ. It was just your name. It was just name. So Mario's name was Mario.
That makes sense.
And that's it. Lester was Lester. It wasn't MC Lester. It wasn't. And So that's why in the early days, a lot of people are not on these flyers and stuff like that because back in those days, a lot of the gangsters was on the run. Keep it real.
Right?
Let's keep it real, like 100, and so you
That
better
makes
not put
sense.
their name on their flyer and know that they're gonna be here at this certain time. Wow, that wasn't happening,
That
and
makes complete sense.
yeah, and so and also, why what kills me about these people that go by flyers and stuff like that. Like I said, it was outdoors, right? And so those people that know, we had to get the power from light posts, from the bottom of the light post. And that's where we would get it. And what was inside of the light post was called a test plug. And the test plug was there for Con Edison, the power company, to go down in the sewer and check something. So they would take the plug and then take their machines and stuff into the sewer underground and do their lights and all that stuff. They used to plug in that test plug. So if they weren't doing, sometimes they would leave them, but if they weren't doing work, they would take that test plug out. So now imagine making a flyer and say, we're going to be over here on Rosedale Park on this side at this time and this day. And then we get over there and there's no test plug.
Right.
We ain't have no generators. We were kids. We ain't have no generators. So that wasn't it. Flyers for us was an invitation to a party, but no paying. No paying. You're not going to pay to be outside.
Right.
You're not going to pay to be outside. And so that's why when these people say, oh, yo, he wasn't on the flyer or whatever, what flyer? What flyer was going to be there? You're going to say, and like I said, how people knew is because they heard the music. And they came. And then once they came, then they'll go back home and tell somebody else, and then they'll tell somebody else or whatever, and that's how it became. In our parties, in our first parties, we had hundreds of people. Hundreds of people would just come, because like I said, we had Monroe, all of the Sound View, Sackward, all of that. And so this park, Rosedale Park, was just like the music would just carry. And people would hear it because back then, you're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear a big, music. Even the car systems wasn't as loud as they are now.
Right, right.
So that's how it carries. So those people that say, "Oh, he wasn't on the flyer" or whatever, they don't know.
What you're giving us is a full-on cultural analysis that checks out. Kids having a party, you can't announce it because if I get there, hey, we're just plugging into what's available. You're using the resources from your environment. So you may have planned on having it here. Oh, the plug is gone. But that plug is open over there at that side of the park. And you go over there and you play the music. And people who thought it was going to be here, they hear the music here. Oh, no, it's over there. Hey, Alan, John, Janice, come. The party's over here. That checks out to how we behave culturally. It also checks out to the New York culture of partying. Going back to the swing days. New York has a particular party culture, the rent parties and things like that out of New York, where people would get their rent paid in apartments and they would hear the music and come. If you want to come in, you got to pay this rent. The waistline parties and stuff like that from previous generations. You know what I mean? Like here in LA, my dad always talks about in the 70s, they had waistline parties. Like we couldn't really party in LA. You couldn't really party at the park because LAPD would kick your ass. So all the parties was in somebody's house. But either way it go, it wasn't at no community center or nothing like that. It was in somebody's, like you have songs here in LA, backyard boogie, yoogie, yoogie, because the culture here was the backyard boogie. The culture here was, that's why the movie House Party was filmed here. House parties, backyard boogies, and my dad said that they would have waistline parties, and whatever your waistline was, or how much you had to pay to get in. And like that was like, so you see a similar culture and things like that popping up. I don't want to take all of your time because we're going to do this again. Like, because
I need to interject for 1 second. Now, like you said a house party. Now, imagine having a 3-bedroom apartment. And that's a big apartment in the projects, 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So imagine having 3 bedrooms and having 2 or 3 buildings full of kids going into those 3 things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Couldn't happen.
It couldn't happen. So it goes to show that the environment dictates how the party is played out. If you're stacked with apartments, that can't happen. But in LA, it's houses, and the houses are separated. So you can have these backyard, but the environment, same behavior. In New York, they're b-boying. In LA, they're locking and popping. Oh, and also for those of you listening, go follow Incense and Ashtrays. I have a video up on Kool Herc being the Christopher Columbus of hip hop, and premiering next week, I have an interview with the legendary DJ Battlecat. The legendary DJ Battlecat, West Coast, started out DJing here in LA in the 70s. We talk about late 70s, his interest in the hip hop DJing and DJing for the radio out here in LA, and how he got with Dr. Dre, and how he basically got with Snoop and became a West Coast hip hop legend. That interview is dropping next week over on Incense and Ashtrays. So that, go to the description, subscribe to that channel, Incense and Ashtrays. Watch my video on Kool Herc being the Christopher Columbus of hip hop, and also we're gonna be doing some more stuff. Man, I would love to get out there to New York and talk to DJ, and go around with you.
One thing that you got me, and I was so like impressed to hear you say it, was that in I want to say, it was maybe about 70, 71, my uncle was in the Air Force, and he stopped at somewhere in California, and so that's where because he was coming from Germany, and he stopped in California. And so we went to pick him up. It took us like about, I was a kid, so for me, it took like a month to get out there. We drove. But we did get out there. And where our cousins were staying, there was our uncle. Well, it wasn't an uncle, it was my cousin, one of my cousins. He was an older guy. And he had this car, this Chevrolet car, and all I remember was he had it was low,
three-wheel motion.
Yes, and he had a record player in it, in the glove compartment. He had the record player, and he had these things on it, man. And that was so great to us. It was spoiler. But I remember either spoiler or Krager or something.
Yeah,
had the thing. And I remember he had Vogue tires and something, a Superior or something spokes, and on this car. And we were like, oh my God, this car. And then, right, so then my uncle, like I said, we got him from California, and then he went to Arizona. And so we went to, and this is the 70s. This is early 70s. And so my grandmother took us out there, and he had this, it was burning. As soon as we got off, this is so how long ago it was. We didn't even have, when the plane landed, it didn't even go straight to the airport and walk to the airport. They pulled this ladder. And we walked up the ladder, right? And so it's soon, and this is in Arizona. And as soon as we got off the plane, the heat was like, so we was trying to turn back and go back in the plane. And so my uncle had a Cordoba. That's the name of the car. It was a yellow Cordoba. And he had shag rug inside of the car.
That sounds like some Cali shit.
Like, we were like, what the? It's going to be hot. And he said it was because the air conditioner in there preserves the coolness or whatever he said. But we were like, what the hell is this? We had never seen nothing in the car like that. So when you said that you know, the Mexicans were saying the lowrider thing, I was like, nah, you know, that was LA was I remember
Kathleen Jefferson invented the three-wheel motion. I have an interview with the lady who coined the term lowrider, Miss Berta Bell. That's on IncenseNashtrays. It's also over on that channel, IncenseNashtrays. And I got some lowrider interviews lined up for y'all asses. I mean, originators. I got different generations. Originators. I got people from the 60s lined up, people from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now all lined up to really tell that lowrider story, because black folks are tired of getting what we bring to the culture, getting othered the same way they trying to do with you guys. You guys having those parties in this culture that you had. One thing the last question I'm gonna ask you is about that. You know, who was around when you were doing those early parties? I want to ask two questions. Who was around? What color were they? Let's just be blunt. And then I want to also ask, what was Afrika Bambaataa's overall effect from your point of view? Let's start with the color of people who was around the early days, the 70, 71, 72, and then we'll get to the Afrika Bambaataa question.
Well, we didn't know what Jamaican people were. We didn't know. I didn't really find out that who Jamaican people were until, I must say, the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe no, I'll take that back. Maybe 77, 78, 79 is when I knew what Jamaicans, because we moved uptown and there was some Jamaican people. Puerto Ricans were not there at all, because their parents, and this is something that I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. From my perspective, when Puerto Ricans came to New York, right, I believe they were under the impression that they were going to be accepted by the pink people. That's why they had a lot of them, you know, the ones that really thought they was going to be with the pink people, they had their hair slick. You know, they wasn't, you know, fuzzing up their hairs to make afros or whatever. And so when they came, they got rejected by the pink people. And the pink people threw them over where we were at. And so they were still trying to treat us like what the pink people was treating us, because they still thought that they had a chance to get with the pink people if they treat us bad. And so that at that time, 70s and 70s, early, they were not around. They were not. You would go to the, you know, if you did have a friend or whatever that was Puerto Rican, you know, when they get around their parents or whatever, they start talking Spanish. So you don't know what the hell they talking about.
Right.
And come to find out, they were like, "Why are you hanging with the negritos? You know, with the with chocolates and all that. You know they steal and you know they bad." Now, back then, what were Puerto Ricans known for? Carrying knives and stealing cars. Wearing hot water. Wearing high waters and a whole bunch of colors. That's all they was known for. That's it. That's all they were known for. And so, and listening to their music, because they didn't listen to our music. They didn't listen to our music at all.
They called it jungle music, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I mean, oh my God, and that's another thing that I always ask. Okay, they say that they were 50-50 or whatever, right? What did they bring to hip hop? They didn't bring the music. They didn't bring the lingo over the microphone.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring the dances. What did they bring to hip hop? And we ask that question all the time. We ask the question, and they could never come up with it. They say that, oh, that this person was this, and they always on my side, they always say Tex, DJ Hollywood and everything, but they never heard Tex DJ. They never heard him play a record. So how do they know what he was playing? How do they know what he was doing? Because they would never heard it. So, you know, it's funny to me how they come up with these things. And I heard the Dr. Columbus say that with Just Begun, the guy, he got it from the Spanish people and everything. Just Begun is straight up from James Brown, like that, you know, and them horns. Who's those horns, man? That's the horns, you know, James Brown style or whatever, and the breaking of the drums, you know, and so it gets me, you know, I just get confused why they say that. They say that, you know, and which I understand now. I understand because just like everybody else, nobody liked it in the beginning. Nobody liked it. But as soon as it started catching on,
my turn.
It's my turn. I'm down. You know, they got so mad at me. They got so mad at me because I said, well, what songs did y'all bring? And then, you know, they couldn't come up with something. And I said, oh, I remember a song. It went, a cucaracha. No playing me, got me now.
Yeah.
Got so mad at me, you know.
Like, I had to say that to some. It was some Mexicans trying to say that out here in L.A. And the only thing I heard in L.A. because like Mexican music and Puerto Rican music is different. So in L.A., all we heard was doonch, doonch, doonch. A nosotros vimos a la cuatro. Nosotros vimos. I'm like, the fuck that got to do with hip hop? All I ain't never heard nobody do that shit. And the hip hop, nothing. So yeah, man. What's up, DJ DG Kenny? I'm gonna text you. We got the Hidden History Comedy Museum coming up, show coming up, DJ G Kenny. Let me know if you can make it. This is my DJ for whenever I do the Tariq Hidden History Comedy Show, whenever I host it, I like to have DJ G Kenny up in there. He a cold motherfucker. So I'm gonna hit you up, DJ. We got King Simon in the building. Salute to King Simon. Salute to everybody, Infinite One, everybody that's in here. I want to ask this last question. We've been talking about Bambaataa all week. Everybody's been talking about Bambaataa. I want you, and I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna step away for like 30 seconds because my wife called me real quick, but keep talking. I want you to talk to us about what's Afrika Bambaataa's real impact on hip hop. We know what we be hearing all the damn time, but I'm talking to somebody who was a junior Black Spade, who was DJing and in the party since 70, 71. Now we get this huge thing. We heard KRS-One say, hey, Bambaataa created hip-hop. Hip-hop was created by Afrika Bambaataa, Kool Herc, and Grandmaster Flash. I'm the hip-hop teacher. So tell the people what was going on for somebody who's not the hip-hop teacher. It's okay that he touched voice because he ran through hip-hop. Talk to us about what your perception of what Afrika Bambaataa did. And I'm going to step away. I'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Okay. First, a lot of people might not agree with me. But the term hip hop wasn't for the culture. It wasn't. It was when the person that said hip hop, it was for the actual breaks, the music, the breaks. And that's why it was termed basically, I want to say 72, maybe 73, but 72, 73. By 74, it was basically termed as the music, those breaks. And the person that named it, I was just in an argument the other day about the person who named hip hop. But like I said, it wasn't the culture. When he named it, he wasn't naming the culture hip hop. He was just naming those breaks, those beats, because at the time, first of all, let me just say that he's a jazz collector, record collector, right? His name is Lenny Roberts. Mm-hmm. And he's a jazz record collector. Like, that's what he did. So he had all of those jazz records from the 40s and 50s or whatever. He had all of those. And he was, just like you said about, who said hip and who said that. Mm-hmm. Those were the musics. Those were the music. Bebop, doo-wop, all of those things. And so hip was just the latest thing. That was the latest thing. If you wanted to say, if you said hip, you were just talking about the latest thing. It was the coolest thing at the time. It was hip. And so when me asking for these records from this jazz collector, he asked me one day, what did we name it? What kind of music is it that we call it? Because all music has a genre. I didn't even know what he was talking about when he said genres and stuff like that. Right. All I know is, to me, it was funky. That's all it was. It was funky. It didn't have no name. It was something funky. Mm-hmm. And so he said, well, it's hip and it's, hip hop. And he didn't say it for everybody. He just said it for me and him at the time. And so now you got to remember, all of these people that were looking for these records, these certain breaks, would go in the same circles. You see what I'm saying? And Bambaataa was one of them. Islam was one of them. Breakbeat Lenny was definitely there before them.
Breakbeat Lenny, okay.
Yeah. And so, people don't understand that that's where that name came from. It wasn't about the culture in itself. So when Bam did say that, he was talking about the culture in a whole. Everything. And that's why they say about the graffiti and the this and the that and everything, because he's talking about the culture
Everything.
of it. Not when it first came. That's why people don't understand how it came about, because they're just looking at it as the culture. And it wasn't. That was hip hop was not the name of the culture. We didn't even basically know about a culture yet, because this is like the beginning stages of what we were putting together. So there wasn't big. We knew about our culture. We knew about the, when your moms and them throw a party at the house and they throw on the record and they tell you, come on, dance, go dance and show you, and you showing off. You know that. You know that James Brown come on and he say, ah, just like when her dance came out, oh my God, or say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, or can't stand it, or all of those things. When those came on, we knew, hey, that's the beginning of it. And so at that point, we knew that the older gangsters, the people that, and this is one thing that I have to say, it makes so much sense when I think about it now as an adult. When you're young, when you're young, what is some of the most forbidden things that you want that you really can't get? When you see older people kissing, I remember when I first saw them tongue kissing and they doing their head like this. I thought that's how you kiss. You had to do your head like this, or whatever. You had tongue kiss like that.
Yeah.
And so for us being boys, we wanted girls. And so, that was one of the things that we could show off to the girls, because that's till this day. I always ask this question. So, in other words, you go to a party with a girl and you're going to just break dance on her? She gonna be
Right.
standing there,
You got
and you gonna be dancing, doing break dancing, going on the floor, jumping around, and put your head on her face and all of that. That's what you gonna do to the girl. You know what
you
I'm
got
saying?
a you got a girl that's right there in front of you, like, hold on, baby girl. I don't want to touch your booty right now. Let me do a backflip. Like, no, you're not gonna grab on that ass before you touch.
So that wasn't, by the time we started being with girls and everything, breakdancing was out. We don't want to do the breakdance no more. We want to hold on the girl. We want to feel the girl up. We want to, grind on the girl and do that. So, when I see Puerto Ricans, they just doing it, and they breakdancing against each other, and everything. I'm like, well, where the girls at? Where the girls at? Where, like, where's the love? Whatever. And so I think that's why it evolved the way it did, because we didn't want to just dress regular. We wanted to dress to impress the girls. We didn't want to dance to just the whatever. That's like when the freak came out. Oh
Oh
man, and the bump
yeah.
and all of that. You got a chance to, my favorite move with the bump is turn around when she go to do that, and I turn around. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And that was the move. When the freak came out, you got a chance to hold that leg up and get hard and everything. So that was the difference between what people were doing and
Mhm.
the kids were doing. And so, with Bambaataa, I'll go back to Bambaataa. I know I got off the subject of Bambaataa. With Bambaataa, I think more or less, and this is just me thinking now to go back, that he was more interested in putting numbers in. And that's what me and Lord Jamal was, when I was on the thing, we were talking about, the feeling safe in numbers and feeling, safe being, have a family or something cool, and so if you really look at the catalog, Bambaata's not known for the scratching and stuff like that. He's known for giving Jazzy J the records and Jazzy J cutting up and doing the stuff.
So Jazzy J was the one cutting up the Bambaataa records.
Right. Bambaataa still to this day. Well, now, no, but he wasn't, he couldn't cut records and mix and stuff like that. He couldn't do it. And so, just like Herc. Herc to this day, he can't cut records and mix records and stuff like that. He can't. He doesn't have it.
Herc has been around my whole life. I've never heard people like you still DJ. Flash still like I don't ever hear about Herc DJing anywhere these days. Like
because he can't. He can't. People got so advanced and know that you first of all, if you go to a party. You're not gonna be breakdancing you want to go to a girl. You want to go with a girl. So if you can't just rock the shit with the girls, involved and doing the dance, then it's a waste.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so if you can't even mix, because there's a difference between mixing and scratching and blending. There's a whole thing. So now anybody could just put a record on. Anybody. You could be blindfolded, dumb, deaf, and dumb, and put a record on. But if you take that record and you beat match it to the next record, and you beat match it to the next record, and you blend it with the next record, or you do a little chicka and put it with that record, then you're a DJ. And so the Bambaataa Herc, they never did that. They never did that. And I'm going to, in my book, I talk about Flash. And when people hear what Flash did, they were like, whoa, I understand now. I understand now. And so, and then it's always different from a musician being anything.
You're a musician.
Yes. When being a musician and hearing those beats, and I was telling them what a measure is, and how many beats and stuff, and they can't calculate that. They can't do that because they don't have that feel, and that's why. Oh my God. Okay, and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, listen. You know what a metronome is, right? All right, definitely know what a metronome is.
Tick, tick, tick.
Right, it keeps time. And what does it do? It goes, look. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now that's digital, right? If you want to call it, it's digital. That's not our thing. That's not our soul. Our soul is 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's a flow.
It's a flow, right?
It's a flow. And so that's why you always see the difference between our dancing and Puerto Ricans and pink people's dance and everybody else. Because they don't have that. You can't buy that.
You can't buy that.
You can't buy that flow. You can't buy that.
They jumping on a pogo stick, and we dance between the beats, and that's where the term groove comes from. Groove is a space between the 1 and the 2, and
there you go.
Yeah, that's the groove.
And so you know that.
Yeah, people hear the term, but they don't know what it means.
Right, and that's why breakdancing to them is just acrobats. That's all it is. Yeah. It's just doing stupid moves. You do what they call breakdancing. You could do that to Beethoven. You could do that to any music because it's not to the beat. But our breakdancing, every beat is to a part of that drum set. Because it's all about the drum set. I don't care what you do, bass line, all of that. It's all about the drums keeping that beat. And so if you put your foot where the bass drum hits, or you turn around the way that snare hits, or you clap when that snare hits, or you do the movement when the hi-hat is hitting, when you're doing those And so that's the difference. So when Bam came in and he let everybody in, those Puerto Ricans that didn't have our groove and just doing acrobatic flips came in there, and that's what happened.
And it's fun. It's crazy you said about the beat, because what you said earlier about like them dancing and the acrobats and they was having a different time. It's similar to what my dad always said about like in the girls. What my dad always said about disco, like here in LA. Like I always ask my dad about disco and that stuff, and he'd always be like, it was just too long and too hot. It was like you got to be smooth for the girls. That's why black folks gravitated to funk. Funk was slower, and funk had a space. Rest in peace, James Gaston just died last week. He understood how to create the most amount of space as a drummer. Those of us who play drums, and when it comes to what we call pocket. I want y'all to listen, y'all. I heard Dr. Cologne's in here. I need you to listen up, son. And salute the True Savior that's in here. But when it comes to pocket, our job as a drummer is to leave the most amount of space between when we hit that 1 on the hi-hat and that 2 on the snare. And the most space we can give it and still stay in time. Going back to metronome. If the song, black folks, we dance between 100 and 125 beats a minute. When it get past 125, we out. That's the Puerto Ricans. They like that, like doom, 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 doom. We want our stuff to be between 100 and 125 beats a minute. And you want to have the most amount of space between that 1 and that 2, because the groove happens and the moves and the synchronicity and syncopation happens in that space. The 2 is just a reminder to where you land. It's not the beat. Versus when you're dealing with people culturally white, culturally Puerto Rican, culturally non-black American, even Africans. All of their music is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
It's like 4. I told you. That's what I told you.
Yeah, just straight. And the thing is, you don't have to listen to me, people. Just pull up a song and count. Music is mathematics. We don't have to debate this. Just put up their music, and you're going to hear consistent quarter note. We hear our music, accent, space, back, snare, accent, space, and that space is what provides the pocket for breakdancing, the pocket for all. And James Brown, going back to what Faye said earlier about James Brown being so important, James Brown changed the way the drums were accented. So when he told me, and this is something that I'm telling you. He told me, he asked at a young age, he told me the secret of that drum. And people to this day don't understand what the secret is. Do you know what the secret of the drums are? Go ahead, you tell it.
The hi-hat and the snare drum.
And those are 2 drums that are not in Africa. When it comes to the
hi-hat and the snare.
Because the hi-hat...
So all those rolls and stuff that you're doing in between the beat, all that on the hi-hat, in between
and the kick.
Beat,
that informed
the kick is what keeps
that's the foundation. The hi-hat.
That's the foundation.
The hi-hat.
But the hi-hat and the snare is what's going to give you that in the middle.
Because the hi-hat, if I choose, let's say, if I choose a song like Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, when you're listening to Ndugu Chancellor, straight 8th note, that pocket is what laid the foundation for Michael Jackson to do what he did, versus on Dancing Machine, when he went into the robot, you hear the hi-hat play these 16th notes.
Right. And so you just said something very, 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 very important. Listen to it. If you take out the bass drum and Billie Jean, you'll know that is coming on.
Mm-hmm. Just 1, 2. By 2, you know exactly. When Ndugu Chancellor hits that 2 on the snare, you know what's coming. Versus when you listen to a song like Dancing Machine, we listen to this James Gaston on drums. He's playing these 16th notes, and this is what's informing Michael Jackson to Robot versus a different dance. Those 16th notes.
That's right.
And that's the height. That's before we get to the rest of the drum set. So
that's before we get to the rest of the drum.
That's why, like, so many people are always trying to pull us back into, oh, this is African, this is that. No, the drum set is completely American, and it has a completely texture, tone, and tenor than any other drums on the planet. No other drums do this. Every drum has a purpose. The Latin drums, the timbales, the bongos, the Jamaican steel drum, they all have a purpose, and they all inform the music of those cultures. Black American culture, drum set. And you can't compare it to none of that bongo shit. And I can say that because I play the bongo shit too. Like you do. Like most drummers do.
And that's why with me being a drummer, I always say that there's a difference. There's a difference between the beat and rhythm. I would say that the drums are the beat and the congas are the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. And that's just me.
And that's why the congas are optional. But you can't not have the congas could be there. Not Diamond, you mentioned him earlier. He's one of the great, he's a drummer and a great percussionist. You know, we listen to Fire, that breakdown where he plays the timbales on Fire. That's Diamond playing those licks. So, you know, it's the same family, but completely different functions. And you gotta understand this science to understand our Black American music. And it's the science that these people with these colonizer mindsets that come into our music don't quite understand. And they can hear us, me and you, have this conversation 10 million times, but they don't play it, and it's not from their culture, so they won't quite get it the way we can explain it.
Right.
That's why I want to make sure y'all hit DJ Phases. That's it. Y'all see his Cash App. Y'all see his PayPal. Make sure we take care of the people who are around still dropping game. I'm gonna say one last thing, and I'm gonna let you say one last thing. I'm gonna say something real quick. Phase talked about being a musician. If you once you go right now and go subscribe to Incense and Ashtrays, you're gonna see my interview with DJ Battlecat. Do you know that DJ Battlecat was also a drummer first too? DJ Battlecat, one of the legendary premier West Coast DJs, started out as a drummer. There's a difference between the people who play the instruments and then get into DJing, play the instruments and then get into using a drum machine, than those who come in straight to the drum machine, straight to the DJ table. Because with you being a drummer, you have respect for the fact that, yeah, I'm a DJ and I can spin for 2 hours, 3 hours, but you also know a drummer has to do that and be able to play for 3 or 4 hours at a time. You have to know every break beat. You don't play the break beat. As a drummer, you got to know the break beat. You got to play every accent. You got to play this whole time. So you have respect of what it took to record to get onto that record. And that's why you know what it is. And that's why people who don't play don't really have respect of what it took for that DJ and break beat to happen. So you just help prove a point that I've been trying to say a long time, that musicians, we got to bring our musicians back to the tables. The musicians can tell the science behind the story. People who just play records don't know what the hell they talking about. And they need to listen. I would recommend that they go pick up an instrument, whichever one they choose, and learn it so that they have a greater respect for the dancer, the rapper, the DJ, and everybody else involved. I know I just said a lot. I want you to give us your final thoughts on what we've been talking about today. And then, yeah, we definitely got to do it again. But give us your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is this, that just like you said, a musician is going to see a lot more than just the average connoisseur of music. You know, a musician is going to be able to hear things that a regular person would not hear. And so that's the tone of what we created called hip hop, because we were able to take these different things and these different cultures and create hip hop.
Mm-hmm. Man, thank you for that, DJ Phase. I'm gonna stay around and close out the show. I'm gonna go ahead and give, when I'm done, in about 20 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a call to just to say thank you, man. But make sure y'all see the PayPal, you see the Cash App, and make sure y'all donate to that right now, right now, right now, right now. Let's show love.
And also, I would like them to come to my page.
Yes, and it's in the description.
Okay.
Your page, I think it's in that. DJ Phase's page is in the description. I see Christine Diggs. You said you just subscribed. Everybody that goes right now, go to the description and you will see DJ Phase's page. Please, please, please subscribe. He tells these stories all the time. As a matter of fact, he got an archive of stories that once y'all subscribe, y'all need to go back and listen to those stories that he has and then catch up to what he's doing right now. But Faye's got a whole library of knowledge already on his page, and I'll be one of the ones. He'll see me in that chat. I watch his channel, and I appreciate him. So make sure y'all show him love and subscribe to his channel right now, right now, right now, right now. All right, I'm gonna let you go, DJ Phase, and I'm gonna holler at my audience for a little bit. And thank you again, my brother.
Definitely.
We'll do it again soon.
Anytime.
Yes, sir. That was the great DJ Phase, a pioneer of hip hop. Somebody that was around since the 70s. And this is what I've been proving to y'all this whole time, that hip hop is an extension of Black American culture, Black American music traditions. And it comes from a lineage that has, every generation has its own dances, its own lingo, its own soundtrack. It's one of many cultures that Black America created, along with house. Because at the same time we're creating hip hop culture, we're also creating house culture at the same time, who are both children of the R&B funk generation, who were children of the jump blues generation, who were children of the swing generation, and who were children of the ragtime and stride generation, who were children of the swing of ragtime generation, who were the children of vaudeville, who were the children of parlor, and down the line. And that's why I'm writing my book right now. When we can go all the way back to the 1700s to talk about this in our music. That's what we have here as a culture, folks. And this is why we must continue to claim it. How can somebody claim that they know our music when they can't play our instruments? What the timbales and the congos bring, you can't play that with our music and pop lock to our music. What's more likely, can you ask if our music is if our hip hop music is Latin, then you got to ask yourself, can you play? Can you dance and pop lock to this? Oh, come on now. You want to... Can you pop lock to this right here? Can you pop lock to that? Can you b-boy to that? Hell nah. Hell nah, you can't b-boy to that. But you can do it to this. Funky down. Hip hop didn't create its own sound. It DJ'd its sound from music that was already recorded. And the only way to understand the culture of what was recorded is to understand the culture of those who recorded the music in the beginning. It's the only way. You can't start in 1973. You can't start with a party. You can't start with some Kid Ray looking motherfucker breakdancing. It's the reason why Kid Ray stood out like a sore thumb on Lean on Me. It's a reason. Chat room. Chat room. I think I'm opening the phone line. 323-705-5150. I'm going to take a couple calls. I think I'm opening the phone line. But chat room. Do you think Kid Ray's the one that did this motherfucker co-create hip-hop? We all saw Lean on Me and Mr. Clark. I wonder if Mr. Clark was right. Was Kid Ray dead in a year? He told him, you're going to be dead in a year because you got a mullet, Kid Ray. So y'all mean tell me Kid Ray invented hip-hop? What kind of lies do you expect me to believe? You want me to believe, what's up, True Savior? You want me to believe that hip-hop came from Jamaicans? Huh? Huh? And no disrespect to Jamaicans, but this yeah, like this is y'all shit right here. Like, are you ready? Well, that's the soca shit. I mean, that's other Latinos. This is what y'all. This y'all traditional music right here. That's traditional Jamaican right here. Right there, traditional Jamaican dance. You want to hear some of that? You think hip hop came out of that? You think hip hop came out of mambo? The fuck kind of world are we living in? What's up, Carl? What's the name? Where you calling from?
Andre on the East Coast, man.
What's up? Who's calling?
Andre from Carolina.
Andre from Carolina. What's on your mind, brother?
This is the thing about do the drummers play different rhythms, or is it possible that you could have two rhythms in one and blend it in?
What you say? Say it again.
Okay. You can have two different rhythms and beat juggle it. Like Cuban music, for instance, I don't feel it to the point, but when it's fast and the energy is there, I want to start dancing to the Cuban music. But it's not like it's totally like so different. I see more similar. I hear more similarities to it.
From what? Similarities from what to what?
Like some Cuban music and some American music.
You got to name the music.
Because you can speed up funk. You can speed up funk.
No, you can't. Funk doesn't work. Funk doesn't work when you cross 125 beats a minute. It doesn't work. It's no longer funk. You can't speed up funk. Funk exists. Deep funk is gonna have you at around 89 to 99 beats a minute.
Okay.
Slow funk is gonna have you. Funk ain't gonna get no real slower than 75 BPMs. That's extremely slow. Funk is gonna lie between 80 and 110 BPMs. Sometimes it may get up to 120, but funk don't really cross that.
Well, what about some of the roller skating music?
That's okay. I'll give you one. I'll give you a roller skating song. Let me give you one. One of the biggest roller skating songs that we know of is "Night to Remember" by Shalimar. And if you listen to "Night to Remember" by Shalimar, right here, that's 116 beats a minute. Let me give you another example. "One Nation Under a Groove." "One Nation Under a Groove." I tried this out because I did some sample packs of this. "One Nation Under a Groove" comes between. That's somewhere between 100, because it kind of wanders between 108 and 116. For the most part, that song settles at about 112 BPM. Funk is slow. Funk don't speed up like that. Now, funk is a groove. You can't put no damn funk at 130 beats a minute.
Take your time, do it right, man. That's bad. I was think that was
take your time, do it right. that sounds like around 110. But still, we ain't dealing with that. Okay, yeah, they checked it out 118. Exactly what I said, within the pocket. We don't like crossing 125. 125 is extreme for black music. We like to stay under 120 for our music. So yeah, no. Our music is distinctly different from other people. We keep it under 120, and the pocket is completely different. And no, you're playing polyrhythms, but you're playing polyrhythms with one person. And the variation on the foot and the hi-hat pattern dictates the movement. That's why if you listen to a song like Footsteps in the Dark by the Ozzy Brothers, the reason why this song has a particular feel to it is because the hi-hat rhythm. We listen to the hi-hat rhythm, this. When you listen to that, which later became Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube, you can't really, it's more of a cha-cha because of what the feel of the hi-hat is doing. Completely different than any of the drums.
So what's the average beat of a house song, though?
House is above.
Because a house song can be blending Cuban music
and
European
and all
music.
that shit. If it's black house music, they're usually between 120 and 135. That's why, like in LA, house music is for gay people out here. We don't listen to house music. But Chicago and all them niggas, house is a little faster. But house is different than funk. For black house, you're between 120 and about 135, maybe 140. Okay. When you're dealing with white folks' house music, you're 140 and above. You're at least at 130 on the slow end. White house music and that stuff that the Puerto Ricans, their music, their dance music, they're at about 140, 150 beats a minute. A lot faster than what we do. We don't like music that fast. We like pocket. Cultural differences. The reason why their music is faster, because they dance on top of the beat. They dance like pogo sticks, and this is how they dance. They want as little space between the beat as possible. When we dance, we want as much space between the beat as possible because that's where the groove lies. And that's why, like, as a drummer, if I'm playing, like, I was talking to the drummer of Earth, Wind & Fire one time after a show. As a drummer, if you see the audience is white or non-black, you're going to take the same songs you were playing and you're going to play them a little bit faster so they can enjoy the music. If you look at an audience, see a mostly black audience, you're going to slow that shit down because we have a totally different approach to music.
Right. So you don't think breakdancing with spinning match with Lisa Coattail or What If I Could Take You Home?
That's not funk. But now in that song, you're passing 120 BPM, but you asked me specifically about funk. That's not funk, Lisa in the Cold Jam. That's freestyle,
right?
80s,
got a little funk to it.
That's 80s pop, but it has some funk elements. But it's not. That's not that. That would not be considered a funk song. It's a dance song, but it's not a funk song.
Okay, so we always thought the hip hop R&B song. That's how it was in Virginia.
It's a dance tune. And dance tunes can tend to be a little bit, but dance tunes and funk tunes are completely different sounds. Dance tunes can touch 135 BPMs, yeah, of course. But funk gonna keep it down here. All right?
Like
I gotta take some other calls, my brother. Thanks for giving us a call.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, no, it's just, man, look, music is a science, y'all. And somebody said, I didn't say Chi-Town house music was gay. No, Chi-Town, y'all listen to house. Chicago, house is y'all sound. Like, it be straight niggas in there listening to house. In LA, if you go to a party playing house music, it's probably a gay party 95% of the time. That's just the culture of LA. But in different cities, every city got its own norms. New York, New Jersey. Jersey is big on house. And the straightest of straight niggas would be in the dancing house music in Jersey. In LA, 95% of the music playing house is gay parties. That's just our culture, though. That's our culture. I'm not saying cats won't listen to a house song here and there. I ain't saying that. I'm saying like if they advertising house music, you know it's gonna be more queers than steers at that motherfucker. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, LA we different. And I'm not here to say we're better or they're worse. I'm not here to compare. It's just different culture. That's all. It's just different culture. There's nothing to really say one is better than the other over. No, it's just different. That's all it is. It's just different. Now the women, they'll go to the house music parties all day and be straight. But like dudes, when we hear that dootin, 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 we be like, I'm going over here. Nigga, we want to hear some Battle Cat, you know. We want to hear some Quick. This is more our speed right here. If you in LA, this is more our speed.
And I don't want your bitch, cause sorry ass.
That's more our speed right there.
What we doing? Let's bitch it on a party for sure.
That's about as fast as our music's gonna get right there. That's about fast. We get a little faster than that. That's that mid tempo groove. That's about 95 beats a minute. We'll go a little faster than that, but that's about our pocket right there in LA. But that's because of the climate and the temperature and the tenor of the city. Now LA we did techno. Hip hop used to be techno based back in the day. When we was based in techno, it was a little bit different, but LA got out of that techno when Above the Law came in and brought in that G-Funk. And then once Above the Law brought in that G-Funk to LA hip-hop scene, we never looked back to techno. You dig? So yeah, I hope y'all had an informed show today. Make sure y'all please send money over there to Cool DJ Phase. We want to show that we appreciate them for spreading the truth and telling the stories about the hip hop pioneers and what was really going on in New York in the early 70s. All right. Go subscribe to IncenseNashtrays. I got a video up about Kool Herc being the Columbus of hip hop. I have a video about Miss Berta Bell, the first lowrider. And next week, we're going to be dropping an interview with DJ Battle Cat. All right? All right? Thank y'all again for listening. We opened up the phone line for Cologne to call in. He didn't call in, I guess. Don't want that word. Don't want that word. All right? Y'all have a good one. We out.